Many people know Hawaii for its beautiful forests, beaches, and warm ocean water. But there's more to Hawaii than just sunshine, warm weather, and beaches. One of the many reasons I love hunting is because it forces me to explore places that I would otherwise have no business visiting. Such was the case on this pig hunt. We arrived at our hunting unit on Mauna Kea about midday. Winds were gusting above 30 miles per hour and sustained winds were around 20 miles per hour. Since we had a difficult time using the binoculars, we decided to hike down into a ravine and still hunt the area until the weather cleared up. After about an hour of searching through this ravine, the weather began to clear up and I was able to glass up 3 sheep high up on a mountain peak. When I spotted the sheep, it appeared that they knew that we were in the area and were on their way out of there. They looked like they were moving. They were like booking it.
I mean, the wind is going right that direction.
Yeah. There's like 3 of them. One had like a nice rack on him too. It's just the way it goes. That's why I'm walking slow, but I had the thought of maybe going up there, but I was like, you'll never be able to glass down in because it's so windy and shitty. Now the question is like, do we push up there and try to get an angle down at him and look back down here? Or continue down here with the hope we run into some pigs? I don't know. I guess we could push up and just see what happens. First time we've ever like pursued one of them.
Yeah.
But they're moving it. They're like, I'm not sure it's worth fucking going up there. Let's give it a try. So I wasn't sure if we should invest the time and effort to try to track them down immediately or perhaps give them some time to relax and maybe we'd catch up to them a little bit later. The last thing I wanted to do was run up the hill and blow them out of the area for good. I've never pursued sheep until today because I'd never seen them in the area. We usually only see pigs up in this spot where we hunt. So it was a treat to actually see some sheep that we could actually try to get on top of. The weather continued to clear up. When the sun came out, it was time to shed some layers. Many portions of this area were covered by a fine volcanic sand, which allowed for me to pick up the tracks of animals that had been through earlier. This came in handy later in the day. We continued up the hill with the hope that we could pick up the track for those sheep that we had seen earlier. It was clear that the trail was hot. We kept seeing more tracks and more scat. It also smelled a lot like a barnyard as we got closer. At this point, it had appeared that the sheep had moved on, but as in most things in life, appearances can be deceiving. There was 1 ram and 2 ewes that we blew out less than 50 yards away. I prepared my rifle with the hopes that they hadn't ran too far. I don't carry my hunting rifle with a round in the chamber. I only advance a round right before I'm ready to pull the trigger. It's the last step I make before I sight in and make the kill. I had a feeling that the sheep would be located on the other side of the brush that I had spotted them in. So I made my way towards an opening with the hopes that I would see the sheep and be able to get a shot. And to my surprise, as I approached the opening, there was a ram staring at me, broadside. I was completely caught off guard, and when I went to load my rifle, I didn't pull the bolt back all the way to advance the round to the chamber. Immediately realizing my error, I tried to reload again, and I made the same mistake. Having failed to properly load my rifle twice, I manually fed around into the chamber and closed the bolt. Unfortunately, it was too late. When I looked up, the ram was gone. I headed further up the hill with the hopes that I could cut off the animals as they headed down and further into the ravine. But it was to no avail. They completely disappeared.
I fucking it wouldn't load twice. It misloaded twice on me.
There it is.
Clicked twice. He was broadside looking right at me. Nice ram. And I finally got to load and made sure it loaded. I look up, he's gone. I can't believe that happened. Twice. They'd stopped to look at me. They were running. The youth stopped and the ram just stopped and looked right at me. Odd, big old horns on it.
It was a gutting experience. I had the ram in my crosshairs with the crosshairs placed directly on the breadbasket. It was a perfect shot. It wasn't very far away. It would have been a sure kill, but I made a rookie mistake and I'll never forget it. The shots don't get any better than that, and I blew it.
Jesus, man. It's evaporated.
I was devastated. After wallowing in my misery for a while, we decided to push up to the top of the hill so we could get a better vantage point to glass for the rest of the day. At this point, the clouds had nearly completely disappeared from the area. The sun was quite warm. It's way different than it had started in the morning. It just goes to show you how quickly the weather can change in Hawaii. The terrible feelings from missing the shot earlier in the day were erased as soon as I saw a large boar making his way down the ravine where we had walked through earlier in the morning.
He's a ways away. I think we just kind of peel down and let him come to us. Yeah.
Started trying to figure out a plan to get into position and hopefully flank the animal before the end of shooting light. I don't shoot my rifle enough to be comfortable over 300 yards, and this boar was a long ways away, close to 500 yards.
481. Now I don't see her.
It's easy to lose track of your target while you make the stalk, especially if there's a lot of brush and other undergrowth for them to hide in, which is typically where we find pigs, up underneath trees, feasting on the grass that grows underneath them.
God, they just disappear when they get into the trees. There she is.
Yeah.
You see her?
We worked our way back down into the ravine. With the fading light of the evening sun, every shadow starts to look like a black pig.
Every shadow looks like a pig.
Perspectives are always different from a high glassing point as well. What looks like easy terrain to navigate from up high can be completely different and full of areas for the animal to hide in once you get down to the area. couldn't spot the animal, but we had a pretty good idea it was still in the area. So we stuck with the original plan and worked our way down the ravine and continued to walk down slope. It was very evident that animals had been through just since we were in the area earlier in the morning. So we knew we were close. We knew there were animals there. But we were running on a shooting light. It was getting late in the day. The winds also started to shift and push towards where we thought the animal was, which is never a good thing. These pigs have an extremely good sense of smell and will wind you if you're even somewhat close to them. It was clear that there had been tons of animals coming through during the day. Unfortunately, our camera equipment was starting to run low on batteries, so our gimbal died, hence the shakiness of the footage from here on out.
Do you want to keep going? We can trudge down the road to hike the road back, or we can just go back now.
Makes sense.
I'd really just see it through.
I was losing faith in the plan since we hadn't seen the animal in a while, and I was pretty sure that he'd winded us and made his way out of the ravine. We were also running low on shooting time, since it was starting to get dark. Ultimately, we decided we'd push through just a little bit further and finish the day strong. As soon as I came around the corner, I picked up sight of the pig that we had tracked earlier and was able to get into position. Unfortunately, the pig wasn't quite broadside to me and all I could see was his butt. So I knew that wasn't an ethical shot. It was only about 100 yards. I knew it could hit the animal from there for sure, but I wanted to make sure that we had a clean kill. So I pushed down the hill just a little bit further with the hopes that I could at least get a shot at his breadbasket. Bingo, it was a hit. The animal traveled just over my sight line into the ravine. So I was pretty sure that it was down just around the other side of the corner. But you never know until you recover the animal.
It was tough though. I was like, I have to do it now. Like,
Yeah.
your chances is just about over. Because he was literally like, snout raise, smelling, look. And I was like, oh, get it.
Once I got a good sight on the animal, I knew I was on borrowed time because he raised his snout and it was clear that he could smell me. And I knew he was just about ready to push out of the area. I managed to pull the trigger just in time.
Well, that was like right at the end of shooting light. Yeah, big old head on it. I think this is probably the biggest one we've got.
Yeah.
Good shot, he's down. I'm pretty stoked. That's a hunt to eat stoked moment. Holy cow. I almost was like, let's go.
I know.
Let's get out of here. Like it's about end of shooting light. Then I was like, well, let's just see it through, you know. Get to the bottom of the ravine, take the road back. At least say we like pushed through the end of the ravine. And it paid off. Like I freaking saw him down here and barely saw him at the end. I was like, oh, there he is. I had to get in position and then all I could see was his butt. I was like, I can't, like, it's not a good shot. So I crawled back down there, slid down that hill a little bit. Like I said, he was just like putting his nose to the air and looking right at me when I pulled the trigger. That was, yeah, that's as close as you're gonna get to the busting you, which would have been gutting because it literally would have been like the third time today, I think.
Fourth maybe.
God, what a day.
Yeah, that was like a proper
Holy
hunt.
cow. We hunted our butts off for this guy too, man.
Man, those tusks are big. This is definitely the biggest pig we've
Yeah, I
gotten.
think so. Yeah, he's big. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you, man. Sorry we had to take your life. I really appreciate you, though. Oh, you're heavy, boy.
Of course, when you have like a steep thing to get.
This hunt was the first time that my wife got to experience the extreme highs and lows of hunting. Although we had a failed hunt earlier in the morning in the sense that we weren't able to get the ram that we had targeted, it all worked out in the end since we were able to harvest this beautiful boar at the end of the day. It's the extreme highs and lows of hunting which make us come back for more. One of the many things I love about Hawaii is the hunting opportunity. I could literally hunt every day to get meat for my family if I needed to. This many opportunities to hunt has made me a better hunter, and I certainly learned a valuable lesson from missing that chance I had with that ram earlier in the day. If you haven't hunted before, give it a shot. I guarantee you it's an experience that you'll never forget, and you'll have a much greater appreciation of where your meat comes from.